Opera Chat with Matt. People pay money to hear this. So we'd like to thank Archuleta for being here. Archuleta is artist manager who is the founder and president, CEO, all of the above of ADA Management. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm very, very, very flattered that you would ask me on your fantastic opera chat.
Oh, shucks. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us a little bit of background on you, what your job is, what you did in the past.
Well, I am an artist manager and agent. I have my business for 16 years. It's going to be now 16 years of ADA artist management. I started. I was a singer. I did my undergrad in Puerto Rico, and then I went to do my master's in University of Cincinnati, CCM. So I am from CCM. After that, I did a couple of young artist programs, and then I sort of realized that it was just not for me. The career, the being on the road, but I'm a huge fan of opera and a huge fan of repertoire. So I always wanted to stick around and do something in the arts. And it sort of fell on my lap. I started working as an agent right away within a couple months of leaving singing, and then I opened my company a year and a half after that. So I've always wanted to represent singers the way I wanted to be represented. So that's the whole premise of doing what I do.
So tell me more about that switch to being an agent. How that came about. What kind of sparked it in you? And then how was that process?
I was coming out of the young artist program, so I had a lot of friends that were in young artist programs at that moment. They were in Chicago, they were in the Met, they were in different programs in Juilliard. And sort of the day I decided that I wanted to open my company, I sort of went to them and I said, I know you don't have representation. I know there's a big chance because I'm brand new in this business, but I will work hard and I will do what I can. And I really had an extensive knowledge of repertoire, which was great. And in my early 20s, I had businesses actually because my mom is a business person. So I always saw the career as a mix of art and business. Plus, in my early 20s, I did stage management, I stage director. I just did a lot of things in the industry that sort of prepared me to sort of hover over a lot of disciplines within the industry. So it was kind of a perfect match for me.
Sure. So you're talking about all of these backgrounds that you have, from stage management to singing. You were a dancer. Did you come from a particularly artsy family?
I did actually. I have a huge family in Puerto Rico. My mom is one of 16, and
Oh, goodness.
growing up, Christmases were very musical in my family. So everybody played an instrument: a guitar, the drums, the bass, and the piano. But nobody really studied. It was not. They didn't go to conservatory to learn it. So they had to. They learned it by just doing it. It was not until my sister and I actually got into the performing arts high school in Puerto Rico. My sister actually plays for the Cincinnati Symphony. She's been a violist since she was 12 years old. So I've been in the music business for a long time. And I think it prepared me for this, definitely.
Yeah, it's actually a really small world because I grew up listening to the Cincinnati Symphony all the time. I lived just across the river in Kentucky, and so I probably saw your sister perform.
I am sure you did. She's still there right now. She's still in the orchestra.
Oh, fantastic. What is artist management? How does that work? What do you do?
Well, to be honest, there's the word manager and there's the word agent, and I think sometimes they're interchangeable in our industry. But if I were to go to a parallel industry, let's say the movie business, a manager is the one who takes your scripts and reads through them and advises the artist what career trajectory makes sense for them. As an agent, then we book the contracts, we do the servicing, we negotiate the bookings, and in our industry, those two things are combined. So
Sure.
what do? We help singers develop a career trajectory. We help them identify what makes them special, and we also book them and we also sell them. We also go out there and speak about them and want to make sure that they find the right projects to succeed. And then after once they become very famous, then all you do is book their contracts and make sure they pick the right contracts that match one after the other. So
Sure.
in at different stages of the career, the managers will have different tasks.
Sure, absolutely. So, do you go to the opera houses? Do the opera houses come to you? Do concerts go to you? How does that work?
That's a good question. I think it's just a little bit of everything because I mean, like I've been in this business now 16 years. So some of the people that I sort of grown up in this business, now have companies. Now they're running their own companies. So I talk to these people on a regular basis. So I'm very aware of what their planning is. Some companies then come to me to ask for the artist. Sometimes I go to them and say, "What? How can I help you?" So it will depend on the company. It will depend on where they are in their planning in the planning of the season. As far as orchestra is concerned, that's a very interesting question because it's very different than booking for opera. In concerts, the first thing they book is the conductor. They say, okay, so I want this conductor to do this series or this concert. So the conductor and the orchestra then plan what repertoire they're going to do, and then from then they say to the conductor, okay, so who do you want? Who are your soloists of choice? So then the conductor chooses who he wants to work with. So it's the conductor who actually decides who the soloists for their piece are. If the
Right.
conductor doesn't have anybody, or it happens that the people the conductor doesn't, they're not available, then they come to us and says, hey, do you have a quartet for the Messiah? Or do you have a tenor for Beethoven Ninth? So then we work with the orchestras in trying to find the right singer to the right conductor. But it goes both ways. I mean, it just depends on where we are in the process.
So that's a very good reminder to singers to make sure that you befriend your conductors and make sure
Most
that you
definitely.
leave a really good impression on them because they will hire you again
They
and again
will
and again.
remember you. They will remember you. And that's why you see people that do concerts, they're sort of the same people that do concerts all the time. Because
Yeah, exactly.
the conductors want to have them around, so they take them everywhere they go.
How do you discover new clients and what helps them to stand out to you?
So we have a roster that has been forming and developing for the last 16 years. So I don't
Right.
really need to hear auditions for new singers, for new artists, but we do anyway. But mostly, I find artists by listening to young artist programs, auditions.
Sure.
I go to see my clients a lot, so I sit down with the young artists, listen to them. I kind of scout that way. I start relationship with young singers. I also find other artists by people that are working with my clients. Let's say
Sure.
that I go see a bohem, and then my tenor is working with a soprano that doesn't have management. Then she'll send me an email and say, "Hey, I saw that you were at the show. What did you think? I would love to talk to you about management." And if she's in the right stage, then that could be a relationship that can develop. So there are many ways that artists come to us, and then I go to artists. But young artist programs is a really great way.
So you mentioned you'll kind of find them when they're at the right stage and start to talk to them there. When is that right stage?
It's a good question. Well, I always see every singer like a little small company. When you start singing, you're starting an enterprise. So
Okay.
you're an LLC. You're a sole proprietor. So you start doing all the things yourself. You do the auditions, you pay for things, you take the coachings, you connect the dots. But then it comes a point where you have so much business. I mean, people are calling you and saying, "Are you available for this? Are you available for that?" That you need to outsource. Then you need to find somebody to help you with that work. That's when
Sure.
you really necessarily are available, ready to take on an agent, which is hiring somebody. Agents
Right.
and managers work for you. So
Absolutely.
you work for you. So also the other time is when you feel like there's a big competition, a big event happening. Let's say you got a debut somewhere. A great way to get the attention of the agent is to then send them an email and say, "Hey, I have these performances coming up. Would you like to attend?" or maybe reaching out to an agent that you've been in touch with of have shown interest and say, hey, I have this offer from so and so, would you like to help me with it? That is a sign that you are getting hired. People are looking at you to do projects, but you actually involving an agent in the process, which is exactly what we want. Agents are investors. We invest on you as a small company. So it's like you're a startup. Some startups are going to be riskier than others. So some people don't have a lot on their resume, but we feel very passionate about their talent, so we'll take them on. And that's a big high risk investment, right? There's
Sure.
other people that are already doing big things. They're already in big young artist programs, and that the risk level is going to be less because
Right.
they're already on trajectory. So that you put the money into it, you're going to get something back. So,
Right.
but it doesn't mean that you have to do a big young artist program to get noticed by an agent, but it also helps them do the risk management because you've been filtered through the system. But it doesn't mean that if I can find a talent anywhere. I found talent in a very tiny little bitty young artist program many years ago in Orlando before the company closed, and it ended up that kid ended up going to Santa Fe and singing and now he's in Dresden. So he really
Yes.
didn't go through the process, but he got management right before he started doing things. So
Right.
it's different for everybody.
Sure. So tell me what an ideal client is like.
Well, I mean, I want somebody that is invested in their career and wants it as much as I want it for them. Because sometimes, as artists, we sort of get very caught up on, oh, I have to sound a certain way, I have to learn certain repertoire, but then everybody else is do everything else for me, and
Sure.
that's not the way it works anymore. As an artist, you really have to be an entrepreneur as well. You got to do your research. You got to understand what kind of companies you're singing for, at what kind of level they're hiring. So you don't go singing for companies that you're not ready to sing for. So I like artists that take that responsibility to be curious about the industry, curious about repertoire as well. Like you want them to sort of say, "Hey, I'm going to try this and I'm going to try that," but they're not sticking to what you know the industry tells them, that they want to expand their repertoire search a little bit. I want people that are responsible with their bills. Like I want somebody that if we are in a relationship and I do a job and my job, I mean, I might be doing a job right now, but that job is not going to pay me until you're done, even
Sure.
after. So I want somebody to be responsible for that. I want artists to also get back to people right away. Some artists, I think that's one of my pet peeves. I don't like when you send an email asking a question and then you have to wait a week to hear from people or hear
Right.
from the artist. It is your responsibility to be on top of things. It's your business. So just
Yeah.
responsibility and curiosity.
So give me some of the no-nos. What are some things that you don't want to see from a client, or you especially don't want to see from a potential client?
Well, there's okay. So we work in tandem between opera companies and clients. We are the middleman. So when the things that I dislike are the things that are gonna damage your reputation or damage the kind of work that we've done together for a certain amount of time. Let's say you go to a job, and I'm saying you as in general, you as a
Right.
singer,
Not just
and
me. Right.
not just you, um, but you know your music. Be prepared. You got a big job coming up. Don't wait until the last minute. I always tell my clients, do not wait until the last minute to learn that role because you never know. Okay, so let me give you an example. Let's say that the next February you're going to make a debut of a new big role. So instead of waiting for okay, and then you have a month before that you have off. Let's say your gig is in February, but January is off. Then
Right.
you're booked all the way in the fall. So then you say, okay, so I'm just gonna wait until January to learn that role for February. I'm not gonna touch it now. I'll add the entire month of January. I'll work on it. But then I call you and say, hey, Royal Opera House has 3 performances of this one role that you already know for that January. So that stress that you have to jump in to do something amazing that you already know, gets
Right.
booked right before something that you have to do. So then you're sort of like, oh, hold on a second, I have reserved that month to learn this big role. Now I don't have that month anymore.
Right.
So it's why it's always smart to create a certain schedule. Okay, so I'm
Sure.
gonna start looking at this from now. That way, in case some other things pop up, I'm able to manage both of them. So learning your repertoire, being a good colleague is huge. So as far as known is, don't be a bad colleague. Let's say that you're having tension between you and a colleague, then just make sure you talk to your agent first
Sure.
before retaliating or before going to the company. We are the people that are going to help you navigate conflict in contracts. So those are the things that you got to learn about, and also just behave well in contracts. Don't drink too much, don't that kind of things. It seems common sense, but you'll be surprised. Sometimes the pressures of being on the road by yourself, and the stress of having to learn a lot of music, makes us not make
Catch up.
the best
Right.
decision. But I think most people are very very good when they get opportunities, and they really make the best out of them.
That's great. How has coronavirus affected your business, and how has it affected agents and management at large?
Well, it's just very interesting because we all we all started dealing with this mid March. And just kind
Okay.
of it hits us all at the same time. I call it Bloody Friday, Friday the 13th, March the
Right.
13th. It's like all contracts, sort of all the restrictions came into a lot of the states, and all these contracts starting to getting canceled. I think that I went into triage mode, like, oh, okay, how are we gonna fix this?
Sure.
So I immediately called a meeting with all my clients, and we called a meeting with a lot of agents so we can start sharing information. We created a spreadsheet with all cancellations so we can share information as to how things were going to be settled. We knew that it was not just going to be a month, but it was going to affect a lot in the future, because this business works far in advance.
Right.
So I mean, it has affected us all. Needless to
Sure.
say, I mean, we are agents are suffering because singers don't have jobs. We don't get commissions, and if they're not performances, companies will suffer economically as well. The effect that I feel the most is the mourning of the industry right now, just not having those
Absolutely.
performances. Um, but I think we'll come out of this. I think the singers will be able to find their outlets again, and start singing again. Who knows how long it's going to take, but it will. It will happen.
Sure. Absolutely. So, what have you been doing in the meantime? With all the cancellations of gigs and with all the contracts that have been messed up, what have you been up to?
Well, I mean, the first 3 weeks I was busier than ever because there was just so many conversations I was having, and so many negotiations to make sure that everybody was taken care of. So I didn't have a lot of time. I haven't had a lot of time just to chill. I think
Oh,
last week was the first time that I could take a little bit of time and start making into a routine, like a quarantine routine where I work out and I
right.
watch a show, or do something like that. But the first 3 weeks were really rough because I also I with my husband I manage another business, so I was dealing with
Right.
that, two businesses basically closing. But now it's good. Yesterday was great. It was Easter, and we had a phenomenal family time, and it felt like nothing was happening outside of here.
That's great.
So yeah, but yeah, so we're ready to get back to it. And now what we're doing is trying to figure out what the 2021 season is going to look like. I think that's where
Sure.
our heads are, and I think things will start being clearer by the end of the month, I would say.
Sure. Absolutely. On a more personal side, what are some hobbies that you like doing? How do you like to pass your time when you're not working?
Well, that's a good question. I'm a big news junkie, so I listen to a lot of podcasts. And I I work a lot. I plan a lot. I'm very involved here in the community with recreation. So I do a lot of stuff in the gym, trying to plan baseball and softball seasons. Surprisingly enough, I'm a huge Indians fan. So I'm very bummed that they are not playing this spring. Hopefully
Right.
we'll have a short season. I was really excited about it. And Yeah, so my second love is sports. So that's where my head is now that we don't have it. So
Right, of course, and that's heartbreaking. What is your favorite breakfast food?
that's funny. I'm a big I eat eggs. I eat
Right.
eggs on top of rice
Oh yeah.
with
Hey. Okay.
avocado and
Ooh.
salsa. That's a mix of
Ooh.
a Puerto Rican breakfast and a Mexican breakfast. That's kind of like my thing.
Love it.
So
Love it.
yeah.
Delicious. Of course. I think that might be everything that I had. So, is there anything else that you'd like to say? Anything you'd like to cover while you
You
have the
know,
chance?
yes, I would love to say out there that people that are creating all this phenomenal digital content, I think that the industry is going to evolve, and I think the more we do reach out to each other through these channels and show our other sides that is not the singing side, it's just going to be great. I'm looking forward to
Right.
seeing what everybody's doing and what kind of product we can put out there digitally. So it's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be really interesting to see, how the industry evolves from this and what it's going to
Yeah.
look like on the other side of all this. And
Yeah.
hopefully, we'll be able to create a new way to present our art, which will be fun.
Yes. I'm excited.
So, with all that, I'd like to thank you very much for being here. You're you're a big hero for me because you and your generation of people that have gone into management or gone into be administrators have really um, been doing a great job just pushing for the next generation to have a better career than you saw. And I think we're going to do the same thing, as everyone's just going to try and make the industry better for the next generation. And we really appreciate you for being one of the front runners of that.
Well, thank you very much, Matt. I appreciate what you're doing, and I think this is going to be great.
Thank you very much.